Cranial Media.
Hello, I'm Russ Maines from Cranial Media. You know, a couple of years ago, I used to work for the Air Force Research Laboratory over there at the Munitions Directorate. And you're probably asking yourself, well, so what, right? Who cares about what you used to do? Well, it turns out that a lot of people would ask me about this thing called shock physics. And they're like, what the heck's that? What's shock physics? Who cares? Well, the important thing about shock physics is that it's used really as a tool to figure out how material behaves under the first couple of microseconds of impact. And this is important if you want to study things like asteroids, collisions at high velocities, explosives, these types of things that happen when material gets compressed or stressed at incredibly high rates. So shockwave physics is important to understand. Now here's the thing. They never really tell you when you read the books about shockwave physics exactly what it is that you're going to need in order to conduct an experiment. There's a lot of math and there's a lot of fluffy talk about thermodynamics and equations of state and all this other stuff. So what I wanted to do was take a departure from that point of view and talk about practical, hands-on, how to do a shockwave experiment. So stay tuned and you will find out about what equipment you're going to need, what kind of scientific diagnostics you're going to need, the kind of people that you're going to need, and some other ancillary things that you will need in order to conduct a shockwave experiment. Now, this is going to be a very long series, and I apologize in advance. But what I'm going to try to do is to give you all this information about 30 minutes at a time. All right? So when I give you the information 30 minutes at a time, I'm going to break things down into subject matters. And those subject matters are kind of like this. You know, what is a gun? What's a catch tank? What is a VISAR or PDV diagnostic? Why they're important? Why do you need catch plates? So forth and so on. There's a lot of information that you'll need to know and to be familiar with in order to be effective right out of college. And this is the stuff that they really never tell you. Sure, you can do the math, but you are not a ballistics expert when you get out of college unless you're studying guns. You're not a shockwave physicist unless you study shockwaves. But even if you study shockwaves, that might mean you might not be very strong on the thermodynamics or on the theoretical side. So we'll actually go over all these things that you will need. And at the end, we will conduct a shockwave experiment in our minds, and I'll use some animated tools that you'll see over here. They look like this. And you will be able to at least understand what goes into making a shockwave experiment and how to reduce the data. That being said, a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Russ Maines. I'd spent about 14 or so years working for the Air Force Research Lab Munitions Directorate over at Eglin Air Force Base. And I have a couple of patents and other things, but I wanted to tell you who my mentors are. One of my mentors is Lalit Chabildas, who came from Sandia. Another one is Bill Reinhardt, who also came from Sandia. Then there's Jerry Forbes, who is over at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. And there's several others, Jim Kennedy, Jimmy Oxley, some of these other people that you might hear in the world of shock physics. But probably the person I owe the most gratitude for working with me sort of from a conceptual point of view is Naresh Tadani, who is over at Georgia Tech right now. So that being said, stay tuned and we'll get on with our next video. And we're going to start by talking about guns. Stay tuned.